What's up, meta nerds? This video is all about NK Necrosis, a combat droid that was crafted from the body of General Grievous. People often confuse the terms droid, android, and cyborg, but to simplify, a droid is R2-D2, an android looks like a human, so C-3PO, and a cyborg is an organic being that has introduced technology into its body. This gets complicated with questions like, are people with pacemakers cyborgs? Or if you think that a cyborg has to go beyond the organism's normal limitations, then there are arguments that your cell phone acts like a technological extension of your brain, as no one has to remember things like numbers anymore. But I think the simplest way to think about it is to say that to be a cyborg, you must have a greater ability than you did before you introduced the new tech. And importantly, this technology has to be physically integrated into your body. To me, a guy in a cell phone is a human using a tool. The guy with a chip implanted into his brain that allows him to surf the web with his eyes is now a cyborg. Shilal, the Kaleesh that would become General Grievous, had his eyes, brain, and vital organs transferred over to a cybernetic body, making him much stronger, quicker, resistant to blaster bolts in not all, but way more places than a normal Kaleesh. Oh, and he got an extra pair of arms, so he is considered a cyborg. But when he died on Utapau, the General's body was reclaimed by clone troopers and sent over to a research facility Palpatine had established nearly immediately after Order 66. Though in storage, the organic matter decayed, so essentially what was left was an amazing combat chassis in need of a droid brain. This is where Dr. Nikolai Kinesworthy comes in. He was one of the most highly recognized cybernetic experts in the entire galaxy, and was placed in charge of developing an advanced combat droid for the Galactic Empire. Besides his programming abilities, he also had a passion for studying death, notably the physical and psychological ways in which various species try to survive at all costs. This knowledge would be the cornerstone of the combat droid brain that he created, making it arguably one of the most dangerous AIs ever constructed. He named this NK for his own initials, but looked to his colleague Truan Lorne for assistance in finding a droid body worthy of interfacing with this new creation. The pair took their project to the Imperial Overseer on Kashyyyk, who was a dark side prophetess named Marili. She allowed them to set up a secret lab in the Mydrall Caverns, but before they would bring this Frankenstein monster to life, Lorne hired the assassin droid IG-72 to find him a pair of IG-100 Magnaguards. These Separatist droids were still seen as the best bodyguards one could buy, and they were to protect the creation upon its resurrection. The dark side prophetess would aid the scientists by arranging for them to visit Emperor Palpatine's secret warehouse on Utapau to see if they could find anything of use. As Dr. Kinesworthy's eyes fell upon the body of the late General Grievous, he became ecstatic, knowing the cyborg Jedi Hunter would be the perfect match for his deadly droid brain. He would name this droid NK Necrosis, referencing that this new creation was what was left after the organic cells of the Kaleesh had all died off. Ironically, because of the scientist's choice to give it IG-100 Magnaguards, Grievous was able to train his droid self from the grave. Part of the reason why the General's guards were able to go toe-to-toe with Jedi was because Grievous personally trained them all in lightsaber combat. Now, deep in the caverns of Kashyyyk, the IG-100s were sparring with NK Necrosis, who used his state-of-the-art droid brain to quickly become a master lightsaber user. This next part is simply amazing, but in that warehouse, there was a double-bladed red lightsaber that was noted as containing a crystal named Bane's Heart, and the blade itself was reported as being owned by Darth Zannah. If that hasn't started to get your heart racing, let me explain how important that is. Darth Bane is the Sith Lord from around 1000 BBY, who outsmarted and destroyed the Sith Empire, so that he could establish what he believed to be the truest iteration of Sith philosophy, with the rule of two. A master and an apprentice, one to embody power, the other to crave it. Bane's apprentice was Darth Zannah, who fought with the double-bladed lightsaber named Bane's Heart. It was this weapon that was used to kill Bane's body, and this legendary blade would later be discovered by General Grievous. This gives a direct line from one of the most important and powerful Sith Lords in history to our new Imperial-made combat droid, NK Necrosis. This of course makes Dr. Kinesworthy a bit more badass, as this Bane blade-wielding droid would refer to its creator as Master. And though it was the droid's main weapon, it was also well trained in the use of the Blastech blaster that killed General Grievous, and another incredibly deadly melee weapon, the Utapau Nightblade. Through his training, he developed a strong connection with the bodyguards, Kinesworthy, and Lorne, though some quirks started to present themselves. Apparently, this droid brain was so advanced that it started to question the nature of its existence, and wonder if he should even consider himself a separate living thing, or if he was just a continuation of Grievous. He would fluctuate in ways that would be described as mood swings in an organic, from thinking that he was superior to the general, then going back to seeing himself as just a ghost in the shell of a former Separatist hero. With this confusion growing in his circuits, Kinesworthy's assistant, Lorne, decided to alter the programming of the Necrosis and his bodyguards, making them more loyal to him, before taking them to another part of the caverns. Kinesworthy knew that he had been outplayed, and any attempt to try and get Necrosis back would result in his creation using the Crimson Blade to cut him in two. These droids stayed as Lorne's personal bodyguards until halfway through the year 1 ABY. A group of spacers visited Kashyyyk and came across the distraught Dr. Kinesworthy. Their ears perked up as the loot contained in this lab, let alone one of the most important lightsabers in all history, were more than enough to motivate these spacers. After a minor holdup from a B-1 battle droid guard, they were able to make it into Lorne's lair, where he sicked his stolen droid army on them. The battle that ensued required the use of multiple weapons from the Spacer's arsenal, explosives, and blaster fire, that all proved to be too much even for this highly advanced combat droid and his 2 Magnaguards. For their efforts, they ransacked the hideout, taking anything of value, including the fabled blade Bane's heart. They also unceremoniously dismembered NK Necrosis' body, selling off valuable components like his legs, but most notably, the head, was sold on the invisible market to an Imperial Admiral who had a passion for the art and artifacts of alien cultures. This Admiral was none other than Grand Admiral Thrawn. So that's it for its history, and the only behind the scenes fact is that this story comes from the expansion for the game Star Wars Galaxies, Rage of the Wookiees, and I should note that for the run-in with the Spacers, I had to add some of my own creative storytelling here, since of course an MMO-style gameplay involved quests and combat that would make for a clunky story told as a narrative. Also, it was very rare that the player would receive the drop of the Bane's Heart lightsaber crystal. But the history of NK Necrosis doesn't just come from the game, but is expanded upon in the story Unknown Soldier, the story of General Grievous, and in General Grievous, Lord of War on StarWars.com. So that's it for NK Necrosis. But most important of all, remember, even a superpowered droid version of General Grievous, using Bane's apprentice's lightsaber, can't beat a couple spacers with plot-based weaponry. And the Force will be with you, always.